Let's see what's out there.
Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There, a weekly video stream and podcast that has been focused on Star Trek Picard Season 2, which is available for streaming on Paramount Plus or Amazon Prime, depending where you are. My name's Keith Isles, and as ever I am joined by
Pete Mealy.
And we are both film and television enthusiasts and Star Trek fans. And in today's episode, we're going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around the 10th episode of Season 2, which is called Farewell. But of course, we'll be spoiling the entire season of Star Trek Picard. So if you haven't been on this journey with us so far, well, then welcome if this is your first time. If you enjoy this sort of thing, please do consider giving us a thumbs up, giving us a like, subscribing to the channel, checking out the other work. You know, this is our 10th week of just talking about Star Trek Picard, but there's plenty of other content on here as well. So please check that out. If you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified as and when new content drops, and we'll tell you some more about that towards the end of the show. But basically, we wanted with the episode is literally just aired here in the UK. I think, Pete, you may have seen it in the US yesterday. But we thought before, you know, it gets all over the internet and social media and this, that, and the other, we'd get the show out as quickly as possible so that we can say our thoughts without any influence from anyone else, and obviously to get it in a timely matter. So yeah, and me and Pete have not spoken about this yet, have we?
No.
I think I literally finished watching it about an hour ago, so I've only seen it the once, but yeah,
me too.
We'll get into it. Obviously, we talk most weeks about news and stuff. This week there hasn't been any specific Star Trek news. A lot of the announcements were last week that we talked about there. So we're going to just go into our usual breakdown and format for this episode. So let's go ahead and engage.
All right, Renee Picard is the issue again. And so everyone runs over there. Soong is going to use his drones to blow up the rocket, and he shows up to kill Renee in person. But Rafi, Rios, and Seven hack into the drones and botnet their subroutines or something, and they crash. And then the Watcher shows up and impersonates Renee so that Soong can kill Renee. But Renee also gets on the ship just fine. Soong goes home and discovers his drones are trashed. Renee is actually on the ship, and then Corey deletes all his data, and Soong is left to ponder one of his last paper files, labeled the Khan Project. Meanwhile, Wesley Crusher shows up and asks Corey to join the Travelers, and she does. Picard then takes the key that he used to open his mom's door and leaves it for himself to find in 400 years, right where he expects it. Q congratulates him on not altering the past, says he's dying, but he can snappy them back to their now saved future. So everyone goes, except for Rios. So Q says no problem, but we are back where we started, and the Borg Queen is Jurati, and she needs to be part of the Federation to save the quadrant from a big bad energy pulse. And so the Federation fleet joins together with Borg 2.0, and they save everybody, including Elnor, who is there. And then the Borg want to stick around and guard the mysterious space hole that just showed up. Then Picard goes to the 10 Forward bar and catches up with Guinan on what happened to Rios, and then they give Elnor his first shot, and then Picard goes home and makes amends with Laris. The end.
Until next season. Yes.
Yeah.
We were right on some of our predictions, but we will get there. We will get there shortly. But first, it's time to make it so. Okay, so this episode once again was directed by Michael Weaver. We talked extensively about Michael's credits last episode. In fact, I even read out the wrong credits for half of it and talked about his DOP credits before his actual directing ones. So we know about him. And again, both the writers of this episode we've discussed on previous episodes. So we've got Christopher Monfetti, who co-wrote this episode with showrunner and producer Akiva Goldsman. So there were a few special guest stars, but obviously they're all ones that we've mentioned before, Whoopi Goldberg, John Delancey. There is another special guest star, but I'm going to save that until the next section. But yeah,
sorry.
It's short but sweet this time, isn't it? So
yeah. So, sorry if I spoiled it in my review.
That's right. But do you think, what are you up for, Pete?
Yes, let's have some tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Wow, we're running through this at lightning speed today, aren't we? Which is unlike us. So,
Yeah.
Although we will get into lots of conversation, I'm sure. But yeah, Easter eggs. Any obvious Easter eggs that you? The show itself is kind of an Easter egg, but I just wondered whether there were any specific ones that leapt off the screen to you.
Obviously, we have the Traveler. To be honest, the only thing that I could think was that they really missed an opportunity for a callback, which was that I was 100% expecting Elnor's shot to be prune juice, and they could have given him a real Warriors drink, right? Like
brilliant.
That would have been amazing.
Oh my God! Do you know? Oh, Pete, this is where you should be on the writing staff. I would have loved that. I didn't even think of that, but that because of course Guinan was the one that
Guinan was there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yesterday's Enterprise. Oh, that would have been a perfect reference.
It would have been a great clip, right? And like, there's two ways you could have gone with it. You could have been Elnor, this is a real Warrior's drink, right? You are a warrior. Or
why did they not do that?
They could have gone with the unflinching truth, and he takes a drink and he goes, "This is terrible. What is it? Prune juice. That's terrible."
Yeah.
Yes, that is the truth.
Man, why didn't they do that?
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand so much of this episode, but we'll get there.
I want them to go and retcon that. Like they do many other things. I want them to refilm that scene, bearing in mind, and it was quite obvious due to obviously the schedules and COVID restrictions and all of this, those actors weren't there in the bar at the same time. And I thought actually the way it had been blocked, that was pretty bloody obvious. You know what I mean? But go back and redo it and have prune juice. I love it. I love that. I wish that was a reference.
Yeah. It made me real mad, I will say.
Oh, Pete, that's brilliant. And any others that's
it.
That's it. Okay. Well, I couldn't find any pictures, but I did spot Renee's book makes a second appearance. Renee was reading the book about the Dixon Hill in that episode. Well, she still had that when Talon goes to talk to her, which was cool. You've obviously said, of course, we've got Will Wheaton, who was the guest star that they didn't spoil. They didn't put that in the beginning credits, which was quite nice. But and they managed to keep this one really under wraps. So yes, we got Will Wheaton back as Wesley Crusher. Confirming that he is the Traveler, as seen in the Next Generation. However, obviously there is still one kind of anomaly that this has caused, is the fact that in Star Trek Nemesis, which I've got a little picture there of, you see him, but basically more or less as an extra at Troy and Riker's wedding there. And he was actually in a scene that ended up getting deleted from the film, where he had returned to Starfleet. Obviously, he's wearing a Starfleet uniform in that picture. He'd returned to Starfleet and he was going to join the crew of the Titan, which was Riker's ship. But obviously deleted scenes are not canon. Well, we get told that quite a lot. However, you still see Wesley there in the film, you know, anyway. So so that is kind of slightly confusing.
Yes.
But and also, I mean, I'm guessing I've understood this correctly, Pete. But so the Travelers actually are involved with Gary Seven and those people. They're connected, right?
I mean,
they're the Watchers and the Travelers. Yeah,
that is what it sounded like to me. But I don't, like, I can't make my headcanon fit that, to be honest, based on sort of what I remember. I should watch that Traveler episode of Next Gen again.
Yeah, I must admit I haven't rewatched it, but
yeah, because it seems like they were two very different groups, but whatever, sure.
Yeah, no,
okay,
absolutely. And then the obviously the other glaring one was as you've already mentioned, Project Khan. What I did notice, and again, I couldn't find a photograph online that showed this well enough, but I did notice that file that he pulls out was dated 1996, right? And I think that kind of works, because when you think about it, it was always said in the continuity that the eugenics wars took place in the 1990s, but the thing is, they took place in the Asian continent, the continent of Asia. So they could have still happened in the 90s, I guess. And then, of course, the fact he's got this Project Khan file kind of then feeds into Enterprise, which takes place, over a century later, where again Brent Spiner is playing Arik Soong, who had been dealing with the augments and whatever, and trying to sort of follow that work. So I suppose that does kind of fit in continuity wise, even though, of course, all of Soong's family look the same. But is that how you read that, Pete? Because that's what I was kind of reading, that file is what then inspires Soong in the Adam Soong to carry out that work, and then generations later Arik Soong takes it up, with the things that go on in Borderlands and whatever within Enterprise. And then obviously at the end of that's when he says maybe he'll move into cybernetics, and it will take 100 years or so. And of course that's how we get Data and Noonien Soong and all this, but I don't know, I read it that way.
I think I didn't notice the date, and so in my headcanon, he was now going to create Khan, right, or work on it. But
well, I mean, I suppose either way, I'm not sure what the intention was there, but
I think the intention.
This has been one of our predictions anyway, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Is that what he was doing would lead to the the eugenics wars and Khan and all of this. And then of course the other prediction was that it would tie in with the the riots that were going on in the Deep Space Nine episode that takes place past tense. Because that's also in 2024. So, but anyway, we didn't get that. The only other sort of, I guess, vocal Easter egg was the fact that Q's last line was "See you out there," not "Let's see what's out there," but "See you out there," and I think that's the same last line that he has in All Good Things.
Oh, nice.
I believe.
Okay.
I might be wrong with that, but yeah, that was it in terms of Easter eggs. Now,
yeah.
Being at the end of the season, obviously, predictions wise, I guess we can only talk about what we think for season 3. So, how many lights are there?
There are.
Sorry, I totally cut you off. I pressed the button too soon.
Oh, really? Did none of that go through?
You were saying it great, and then I completely. Do it again, Pete.
No, it's good. We got it good. We're
4
good.
lights. Yeah, sorry.
There are 4 lights. Yeah.
Yeah. You did it so well as well. I really ruined that.
No, don't worry.
So, I don't know. Next season.
I finally watched that season 3 trailer. I hadn't seen it. Have you seen it?
Yeah. I mean, it's real. It's real fan service, isn't it? Fan service. The trailer.
Yeah.
That's.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we know the cast are coming back, and I'm wondering whether this transwarp conduit that Borg Jurati, Borg Queen Jurati, discovered for them, is that going to have some sort of threat to the Federation that only Picard, can once again come out of retirement and join the crew to go and battle that? I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the Jorg, or whatever we're calling them, are going to stand watch, and then season 3 is going to open up with them calling on Picard to, fix it, whatever it is, and so then he's going to get the gang back together and head off.
Yeah. Now, what about Picard and I nearly
Laris.
said Laris. I nearly said Talon, but no, definitely no future with Talon. But Laris, because they all look the same. What's going on? But yeah, anyway. Any do you think that's going to carry into season 3?
I mean, what I would say is that it seems like absolutely cruel for them to have Laris say, "I'm going to go off and have adventures," and Picard say, "No, stay here with me." And she says, "Okay." But then we all know that Picard is about to go off and have adventures in season 3. So, like, it feels sloppy. It feels unnecessary.
Like it hasn't been thought through, maybe?
Like it hasn't been thought through. But then again, those are my overall complaints with season 2 of Picard. So
yeah. Well, we're getting into the line drawing already.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
Yeah.
All right. So shall we draw a line?
Let's do it.
I'm not going to say it because I cut you off last time.
Oh no, but you do this one so much better than I do it.
Come on, you can do it. Do it.
You do it and then cut yourself off.
Okay. The line must be drawn. I did to me what I did to you. There we go.
Yeah, that was great though. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Oh dear. So a lot to unpack here. I've tried to, when searching for pics, I tried to find pictures of, well, as many of the characters as I could, so that we don't miss anyone out, as it were. But I know we've been quite critical of the last few episodes, unashamedly so, because we've got not trying to give Star Trek hate, but genuine concerns with plotting and direction and character and writing and that sort of thing. Pete, how do you feel this week? Has any of that changed for you, or are you in the same place?
All I can say is I'm so glad this season's over. I am so glad it is done.
Okay.
I feel like this episode was an absolute mess.
Right.
Just so much of this episode was, I felt like, thrown together, didn't make sense in continuity. Like, even you referenced the clunky blocking in the bar. I mean, not only that, but that bar scene is, we cut to Picard, right? From nothing, we cut to Picard having a conversation with Guinan where they are catching up and having a heartfelt moment, right? And then he like they get to the end of the lines, and then he's like, hold on, and he picks up two glasses as if like he had just come to the bar to order, right? Had the conversation with Guinan, which was not the kind of conversation you have in passing, and then turns around and brings the drinks over to the waiting Raffi 7 and Elnor. And I was like,
and it's not even prune juice.
Well, but like, I was like, why? That's the best writing for transitioning those scenes that you guys could come up with? Like, what the hell? What is wrong with you? There has got to be something better than that. Or at the very least, just cut. Make it two totally different scenes. You know? I didn't understand it. It was mind-boggling to me. Second thing of three that was mind-boggling to me, and these might be petty quips, but you've actually got the images here, which I think, I don't know. Can you switch between slides easily?
Yeah,
because
no.
Well, no. So here, as we're looking, sorry podcast listeners, but check out the YouTube channel. There's the picture of Picard and Q hugging in the sunroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go back one slide to you have a picture of Picard and Laris.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, right? Okay, so then look at the picture of Picard and Laris.
Full screen.
I don't care. Yeah. Now, here's the crazy thing. Those two photos happen in the same room.
Right.
Those two photos, like, the lighting is totally different. The feel of those rooms is totally different. And
so
yet,
you're saying the top left on both, that one
and that one happen in the same room.
Sorry,
and we know that they happen in the same room because the final shot pulls out from, it's like them in a dungeon through the solarium. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but I did. So let's go with it. It's like the juxtaposition of this room full of light and windows, right? Which did I lose you? Are you still with me?
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
Okay. Sorry, I was worried my internet cut out. It's like the juxtaposition of one room so full of light and windows, but then when they turn the camera around, and even like there's only one beam of light when you're looking at it from the other direction. When you're looking at it from the other direction, it literally looks like it's in a dungeon. And it's like, that is the type of thing that I would have expected someone to say, hey, we've got a problem, right? Like, the look is not right in this moving picture that we are putting together. Like, it looks disjointed, it looks broken, it looks fundamentally wrong. And like, that's the type of thing that drove me bananas.
Disjointed and broken are two kind of quite good words for the general feeling of this season, because I do feel it's been very inconsistent.
Yeah.
and inconsistent lighting being a part of it there. Yeah. I mean, you know, we've criticized some of the writing and plotting and of it, and we've criticized some of the direction over the season. The thing we haven't criticized, and I do still stand by that, is actually the acting and stuff has been fine considering what they've had to work with. But yeah. Okay. And any other?
It's
I
real
mean,
stupid. Like the other thing that annoyed me, and this is very nitpicky.
Well, that's what we are.
Yeah. Picard looks like a child next to Q in that final scene where he hugs Q goodbye, right? Like, I was like, nobody had an apple box. We couldn't have got this man an apple box just for this shot. Like, does he have to be snuggled into John Delancey's chest? He's literally like, okay, that shot is not as bad.
Yeah.
The way,
but again, inconsistency with shot matching, right?
Yeah, like their heads are the same size. In the final shot, Picard's head does not clear his shoulder. It looks like, right? Like,
yeah.
It's bananas. It's
Right.
bananas.
Yeah.
And I haven't even gotten into any of the things that I think are really going to annoy you. So I've left those for you.
Well, I mean, okay. 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 This is weird because obviously we haven't spoken before going, recording this, and we've jumped into it straight away. And I've made sure that, as I said, I've not watched anything else because I don't want to be influenced. But I've got mixed feelings here because it doesn't work for loads of reasons, which we will continue to break down.
Yeah.
However, I gotta say, it annoys me to say it, but I actually sort of thought to myself, in terms of the conclusion, I was moved. I think absolutely it doesn't add up, and it wasn't well thought through. And we talked about the conclusion to another show on our other show yesterday, and I think we even went off topic a bit in that to say that had been handled much better, both writing wise and the way it was visually presented, and therefore much more satisfying. By the way, that's spoilers, but that's Moon Knight, which is on our Let's See What's Out There Plus, which is still on this channel. So check that out if you want to see that. But I thought to myself, how are they going to clear up all this mess? They did it very sloppily in places, which we will definitely dig into. And I'm not disagreeing with anything that you've said so far. I agree. However, the thing that got me is at the end, the Q Picard scene, laughable as it may be with the height difference and whatever, but that actually did move me. I thought, particularly when he said that it's been more than 30 years that they've been playing this little game, because obviously it was the pilot episode of Next Gen.
Yeah.
And, yes, I think Tapestry did it much better. We've talked about that before.
All Good Things did it much better.
All Good Things is an amazing piece of television. But there was some. I mean, this is playing on the nostalgia, but there was something about that it worked. It worked not because it was well done here. It worked because of the history that I have with these characters. So it worked because of the work that others have done in previous Star Treks, if that makes sense. It's a little bit like the whole I'm just trying to think of an example in one of the films, but like a lot of people, Nemesis wasn't a particularly satisfying film overall, but certain bits of it worked because of the history that we had with the characters. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So I did feel there were things I liked in this episode, and there were bits that I was genuinely entertained and happy about, but there were also a lot of things that I was puzzled and bemused and frustrated about. And I mean, I'm still frustrated. I'm going to harp on about this, but I'm still frustrated about the fact that a few episodes back, they hire an actor, Jay Carnes, who had played Lieutenant Decane in a time travel episode of Voyager. Bearing in mind, they keep referencing Voyager in this season. We got 7 of 9, for heaven's sake, as a main character. Yet he wasn't playing that character in this. And I think that's because he was a time traveler from the 29th century. So it would have made so much sense.
Made sense.
But I'm kind of annoyed they didn't do that. I'm annoyed the prune juice thing. You've really got me there. That's so there's a lot of stuff. I mean, the things. Let's start with the things that we didn't like before we get in. I mean, okay, is there anything you liked before we do that? I think we should maybe go through the things we don't like and then finish, because I always like to finish on a positive.
We'll finish on a positive. Sure.
Like. But do you have any positives when we get to that, or do you want to save that as a surprise?
I have a couple of positives. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, all right, let's talk the negatives then, because that's going to be the bulk of the conversation, I feel.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Just looking at the characters, right? Adam Sung. I'm sorry, I love Brent Spiner, but I said this last week. As far as I'm concerned, there was no nuance with this character whatsoever. He was just an evil, nasty guy, and it was almost over the top how unlikable he is. Not only what he did with
Corey
a couple of episodes back, but even the way he deals with the NASA representative in this episode, just absolutely horrible for horrible sake. And it felt clownish and cartoony. And I know he's played a character for years that has to hide his emotions and whatever, has no emotions, all of this sort of stuff. But I'm sorry, I did not like the way he was written for or directed. And I don't think Brent Spiner's a bad actor. Look at the way he played Arik Soon in Enterprise. It was winky in places, but I thought it was great. But this, I just thought the whole thing about this character was awful in this series. Not to mention, he got away with doing a hit and run. He's a somewhat famous, wealthy businessman, right? Scientist businessman, yeah. And he got away with hitting an old man and running in his car, hit and run. And that never came back to I mean, I'm probably being a bit nitpicky there, but hey, it just makes me mad. So I did not like this character at all, much as I love to see Brent Spiner. No, this was badly done.
He was unrelatable, unempathetic, purely evil, and ineffective. Like, nothing he did worked. Like, all this guy has is money. Other than that, everything he's done is a failure that we see in this show. It's like, it's completely unrealistic as a character. It was just a trope that they threw in. So yeah,
it was they wanted to have Brent. What happened is, the cast they assembled in season 1, they wanted to use in season 2, but they couldn't come up with story reasons to use those characters, like Soji, for example, and Laris to a certain extent. Yeah. So they've had to sort of create these analogs for them, which doesn't make a lot of continuity sense anyway. But also, he was I just thought awful in this show. And they obviously threw the thing in at the end about Khan, which we knew they were going to do, and part of me kind of liked that, actually, cheesy as it may have been. But you're right. I mean, everything else, these drones that he had set up to intercept the ship in this episode. I mean, I didn't buy into any of that at all.
No.
And, Rios, Raffi and Seven, that was all completely ineffective, even though, okay, they stopped them, but there was no point where I didn't think they wouldn't.
Yeah. There was no drama. There was no stakes there, right?
Yeah.
And it was just literally so that those people would have something to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Which has been a lot of this season, actually. Yeah. Who else have we got in that picture? I mean, I think it's easier if we, rather than talk about all the sort of individual plot points, where if we pick a character and then we say the things that happened in this episode around that character, it might be easier. So we've got Elnor in there, right?
Yeah.
Who again, none of that felt earned to me. We had him as a sort of pointless hologram last week that didn't really make sense, because it would have been Rios. If we were following the continuity of La Serena, it would have been Rios hologram. And then the week before, we had him as in a flashback, which was fine. The flashback was fine, but let's be honest, that was just an excuse to get him in, wasn't it? And then in this, I'm really pleased for him and Raffi that the character survived, and he's in the got through the academy, and happy days. But it was just kind of the stakes that were set up with losing him at the beginning of the season really didn't feel paid off in any way here to me. So I was disappointed with that also.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it was just shoehorned in.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, before we get on to Raffi and Seven and Rios, let's talk about Laris and Tallinn. Orla Brady, great actress, love she's in this. But I don't know, this whole sort of Rene Picard thing that came back, but I wasn't. You see, here's the thing again, there's performance versus writing, okay? And there's no doubt about it. Both her scene with Rene Picard and her scene with Jean-Luc Picard, in terms of performance, I think Orla Brady completely nails it with what she has to work with. But did I buy that? Did I buy that she would convince, she got to have her arc, if you like, completed with her having been the watcher over Rene, for most of Rene's life, for 20 plus years or whatever. But I didn't feel it in that scene, even though, as I said, I thought the performances were fine. I just didn't really buy it. Did you?
No, I didn't buy it at all. I thought that it was absolutely bananas.
And I knew also, the twist is, I knew it didn't surprise me at all when it was she that was poisoned by evil Sung. Because we've seen that, part of the technology that the watchers have is that they can change their appearance. She does it with her ears. And that wasn't a surprise at all, particularly as they kept going on about how one Rene must survive and the other must die. And like, well, okay, that's obvious what that's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
it was, and the stakes were incredibly low.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I guess, the way that they would have an episode that focused on Renee, and then the next week there's no mention of Renee, and now Renee is back, it really undermines the stakes of what's going on. Also, the like back and forth with like, well, we can't transport in because they're monitoring vitals here. Right before the launch, they're dropping all security procedures. Anyone can walk in, whoever wants. And it's like, what is this garbage? Right?
Yeah.
Like, you've built up problems that were nonsensical just so that you could knock them down.
Yeah.
It's like, and that the problem with doing that is that then it undermines the emotional stakes,
Yeah.
like
Well,
our believability in what they're doing.
yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
I know it's easy for us to sort of sit here and criticize this after the fact, but the way I look at it, like, not only was that a ridiculous bit of writing to get Sung in there to be able to shake hands with her and do that in the first place, which was kind of crazy, particularly as he was a complete dick and an ass to everyone anyway, but the thing with Talon and Picard, again, by both actors, a beautifully acted scene there, right? Her death scene, but there was no weight to it, and the reason there was no weight to it is because the opportunity they had earlier in the season to do that episode where they're in Picard's mind, and it should have been just Talon and Picard, in his mind. They could have actually maybe built upon their relationship so that there were more stakes here, but instead they were playing it as if it was Laris who was going to die.
yeah,
And I just sort of thought, well, it was a bit obvious and we didn't really care, and there weren't any real sort of stakes there anyway, because we know Laris is waiting in the future. So
yeah,
I don't know, that felt real. That whole sequence, everything from Sung getting in to Rios, Raffi, and Seven destroying the drones, to the meeting with Rene, Picard, and Talon, through to the death scene. All of that felt a little bit like just unrealistic. It didn't.
yeah,
And no tension, no real stakes there, which was a shame.
yeah.
And even though to start with, Picard's there with Rene. To me, that was obvious that it wasn't Rene Picard dying. I don't know whether I'm just clever or what, but to me, that didn't seem like a big surprise or twist from my point of view. I don't.
Yeah, no, it didn't feel it, and like I said, the stakes were so low at that point. Like,
Okay.
it. To be honest, I didn't clock that it was Laris who was going to die. I was literally like, oh, well, that's okay. I mean, Laris will just, if they kill this Renee, Laris will just put on the makeup and go on the mission, right? And then mission accomplished. And then when it was like, oh, no, right, yeah, it's easier if Laris is the one who dies. It just
Talon,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it gets confusing when they have
gets a phone.
Same actors playing multiple characters. It's silly, but anyway, yeah. So there was that. I think that covers up the Adams song anyway, story, and the Rene Picard and the Talon bits and the NASA bits.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get, because we've still got, there's still quite a bit to unpack here. Okay, so, well, let's talk about let's stick with the things that aren't so good. So Rios and butterflies. I did have to laugh when he's like, oh, I'm removing the tricorder and the phaser and the badge or whatever that was from the future, so that should prevent any butterflies. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, what about the ice prisoners that were set free in the middle of the episode, at the middle of the season? What about the guys that were the mercenaries that were turned into supposed Borg drones, even though that was dropped? We don't really know what happened with any of that. What about the fact that the Borg have gone into the future to change it anyway? Last episode, so I'm thinking butterflies, a couple of bloody phasers lying around is like nothing, is it, compared to what I just thought that was a bit laughable, because I thought of all the characters to say it, what a hypocrite coming from the
Right?
one
Oh,
that caused the most butterflies than anyone, right? So
yeah. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of happy for the character because again, we predicted that the character might stay behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You did. You did.
and I like the fact that we find out. Oh, actually, that's one of the things I like. So I did kind of like the fact that the Europa mission, the research that came back from that, the kid of Hot Doctor Ramirez,
Yeah.
her kid eventually uses that to clear the atmosphere and the oceans and all of that sort of thing. And I thought, you know what, I like that because we know after the events of First Contact, after there's World War III and then there's First Contact in 2063 or whatever it is, but we know that after that Earth becomes this utopia, right, in the Federation where everything's like there's no we've seen Starfleet headquarters and there's no pollution and the sky's blue and the oceans are green, all of this sort of stuff. Yeah. And I sort of think, okay, I kind of like that's where that went. And that was a positive repercussion of that timeline inversion or whatever you wanted to call it, incursion, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, sorry, I'm rabbiting here. I'm sure you've got thoughts. Sorry.
I didn't really like that that's how they tied it up. That the kid used Renee's Picard's discovery to save the planet. I was like, okay.
But
Uh,
it was positive and optimistic, which is when people talk about what Star Trek is supposed to be about, that is an aspect of Star Trek, right? So
yeah. Okay. Sure.
I'm trying to say something positive here amongst all my negativity as well, but I thought I did kind of feel that fed the ethos of Star Trek.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I will agree with that. I think that the part of it that I didn't like was more that it felt sort of ham-fisted and
Well, that goes without
yeah.
saying at this point, right?
Yeah, it didn't feel subtle or nuanced
Yeah.
or interesting. But okay. Yeah, at least that wasn't like that the kid used the discovery to punch somebody into making the environment better. Yeah.
All right. All right. So we got the whole Rios thing. So we've sort of tied that up. I think before we talk about Raffi and Seven, let's talk about. And sorry, I don't have a picture of her here, but let's talk about Corey.
Oh, Corey.
Isa Barone's Corey, who I think as an actress was really underserved in this season.
Yeah.
But this is where we bring Will Wheaton in the Traveler. But I mean, okay, she was there trying to figure out what to do with her life. She deletes all of her father's work. Great, yeah. But then she just happens to run into Wesley Crusher in the park, and he gave her a recruitment speech, and she said, "Yeah, okay then."
Yeah.
I've been hiding most of my life anyway. Okay.
Yeah. I will admit that when he walked on screen, I got excited. And then when he was, actually Wesley Crusher / the Traveler and not, Jack Crusher's great-great-grandfather, I was happy, right? Because I always liked the Wesley character. I like the Traveler timeline story, right? I feel like that's interesting. And Corey joining it, I was like, okay, this is a high point for me, right? Now as I think about it more and more, I'm like, well, that doesn't quite make sense, right? I mean, the traveler was attracted to Wesley because Wesley was the great great scientific mind, right? Who was like the Mozart of warp engine theory. And I feel like Corey, is like I don't get it, right? I just don't get it. I don't see what they bring to the table, but okay. I guess every team needs a synthetic or programmed entity to be part of their crew, right?
It just seemed like to me, it just seemed like a way of tying everything up in a neat bow. But
It also, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh right, that's the definition of fan service, right? Like,
I mean, did you not feel? I almost felt like Will Wheaton had just walked off the back of what's that thing he does after Trek, or
oh
what's
yeah,
the show? What's the show he does? I can't. That's not the
yeah.
title of it. That's what the
No,
old
isn't
one.
it After Trek or something or whatever?
Um, no, I don't think it is because we don't even get that. But there is like an after show, isn't there? I can't remember what it's
Yeah,
called, but people are going to be screaming at the screen right now. But I don't know. I just yeah, it was cool, but it was just I don't know. It was fan service. It was a surprise. I'll give it
I was
that. But
surprised.
for a minute though, I was confused because for a minute I thought, oh, is he a Q? For a second there, I thought, is he part of the? And then I was like, oh no, it's the traveler thing, which he does explain. And I
Yeah,
was like, okay, I mean that's a deep cut for new viewers,
it
isn't
is
it?
a deep cut for new viewers.
And it's also, if people are more casual and had just seen the films, it is, as I said, slightly confusing because of that wedding scene for in
Yeah, but if
them.
you've only seen the films, you didn't clock that Will Wheaton was a guest there.
I guess not. But yeah. So I don't know. I've got sort of mixed feelings about that.
I've
It
got
didn't.
mixed feelings.
I wasn't satisfied in terms of that actually making any real sense in the Star Trek timeline. But yeah, I'm glad they gave both of them something to do as actors and characters. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, if
okay,
they're looking for Star Trek spin-offs, I would watch that show.
right, cool.
Will Wheaton and Corey bouncing
Well, I
around.
mean, when it comes to Star Trek right now, they are throwing everything at the wall, right? They whatever pasta sticks at the
Yeah,
moment, they're
yeah.
throwing at that wall because we've got, animated shows of different tones and whatever. We've got series for live action series from all different points of the Star Trek history and timeline and branch offs and all sorts of things. We've got apparently audio adventures coming. I mean, yeah, they're really trying everything, aren't they? So it wouldn't surprise me if we get a spin-off of Wesley and Corey.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Who else have we got to? Well, let's talk about Alison Peel Jurati because we do. She's good. Does this mean? Do you think she's going to be appearing in more Picard, but as the Borg Queen Jurati now?
Yeah.
To keep Alison Peel in the picture.
Yeah, I think it's actually in some ways a good character turn for the Jurati character. And it does tie up a lot of Jurati loose ends.
Well,
And
I mean, bearing in mind how she was left at the end of season 1, and then again, I'm not meaning to sort of swing everything here, saying, "Oh, we were right again," but we predicted that pretty early on, didn't we, about the Borg Queen that appeared being her? Yeah, I mean,
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with what happened in this episode. I'm just kind of, I think, still a bit puzzled about what they did in the last episode to get to this point. Didn't really didn't really gel particularly, but
They
okay.
took a lot of extra turns for some reason. They did
Yeah.
a lot of back and forth that I don't quite understand. I mean, the place that they got to is fine, but you know, it, if you're going to say it's the journey and not the destination, the journey left a lot to be desired. And then the one joke I'll say is that I'm not looking forward to Girardi's Borg cat that they're going to introduce in season 3, because that's going to be annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Who else have we got? So we've covered Rios. Well, we've got Raffi and
Raffi
7.
7, and then we got Picard and Q.
Yeah. So So Raffi 7. Again, I always, because these things are on the internet, I'm kind of careful about my terminology, but is it called queer baiting or whatever? They're trying to get the LGBTQ plus interested in Star Trek, which that's always been the case. It's always been progressive. But I guess in Discovery, we've obviously always had the Culber and oh god,
yeah.
Why is my brain blanking?
Culber and Stamets.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the name. So we've had the male same-sex relationship there. So I mean, they get a moment in this, which actually I feel was earned. How do you feel about that?
I feel like earned is a strong statement.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like it happened. It was there. To be honest, like I did not see any sort of relationship development in season 1. Season 1 just sort of ended with them pairing up,
holding hands.
and
Yeah,
I was like,
it's like
okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's happening, right? And then season 2, it's always been aren't they, like a mismatched couple with issues to work out. And I'm like, I literally have no idea. You have not built this relationship up. You have just sort of made it happen and then said it was a problem. And like, I get it. But now that you're then saying, like, oh, look, it might work out for them. I'm like, okay, great. Again, there have been no stakes to this relationship. There's been no development. It has just sort of been there when convenient and not there when other things are more important. And so, again, I'm not bought into the relationship. I'm fine with the relationship, but it's, I mean, it just sort of exists, right? I mean, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. What I'll say about these two is, and again, it feels heavy-handed now. We talked about the line in last week's episode where Raffi suggested that 7 would make a good Starfleet captain, and we got the bit about how Starfleet rejected her when she got back with Voyager, and Janeway battered for her, but it didn't work out, and she went off to join the Fenris Rangers and all of this sort of thing, which we said, well, if Raffi and 7 had a relationship for a year or so prior to this, again, I'm unclear as to the timeline and to how long they were actually together before season 2, but because obviously she had gone off on the ship again by then, and Raffi was back at Starfleet, right? So I'm a little bit unclear on that, but we said that it was kind of weird that it hadn't come up before, but of course it now feels sort of even more contrived, because it feels like it was a setup for the obvious payoff in this one of Picard giving 7 a field commission captain, which to replace Rios basically as captain of the Stargazer, which again, we got that one line, oh, where's Captain Rios? It was like, well, Yeah, exactly. Where is Captain Rios? But I have to say, I was pleased that Seven got that opportunity. Again, I'm talking about the way I feel, kind of, because the more we talk about it and analyze it here, the more it really doesn't make sense and isn't well written or well done. But I have to say, emotionally, when I was watching it, damn them, they got me with that. They did get me with that. I thought that was kind of slightly goosebumpy Star Trek. I kind of loved it because I've always loved Seven of Nine. I've been a big Voyager fan, as we talked about on the episode that Justin was on, and and I've always liked Seven and Nine. Obviously, I'm I'm of an age, and and all this, and it just pleased me to see something go good for that character, and for her to get a moment here in the finale. But as I said, damn them, they got me with that one.
They did not get me. No,
all right.
I was very much like, great. I see what you're doing there. Check mark, but unearned for me. And
fine. No. I mean, this is great. This is what this discussion is all about. So it's interesting how it affects us in different ways. But okay, that's cool. Anything more with Seven? I mean, clearly Seven and Raffi are going to be in season 3, I'm guessing. Then they're still going to be around, right?
I don't know. I mean,
are they going to be part of the crew? Well, yeah, who knows? Put it this way, it's a hell of a lot of characters to get into season 3.
That's a lot. Yeah. You're ganging up on 2 bridge crews.
I mean, we the only one we've really lost, when you think about it, is Rios.
Yeah.
Because we found that Elnor is okay, and Jurati, okay, she's a Borg queen now, but she's alive and well in the the 25th century time frame, right? So will she come back? A guest, maybe? I don't know. I think if they try and shoehorn Isa Baronis in next season, and Brent Spiner, they're really well, unless Brent Spiner's oh my god, who's Brent Spiner going to be? Oh, I dread to think.
Eric Soong. Yeah, no. We've got a current Soong.
Yeah, we have.
That he could play.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's them. So that leaves us. Well, obviously we've got Guinan, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end as well. But that leaves us with Q and Picard.
Yeah.
Now, again, damn them, they got me. This worked for me. I'm not going to lie, that worked for me. But I'm happy to, if you want to play devil's advocate with me, Pete, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to crush any of your joy here, right? But for me, the central themes that we've been harping on still apply. Like the ending location was fine, but it doesn't quite make sense to me then that he tried to snap his fingers but couldn't. But now in this last episode, when he needs to, he can snap his fingers and he has just enough energy because Rio stays behind to bring back Elnor. And it's like, what? How does that even make sense? And
when you say it like that, it's totally sloppy. Yeah.
Technically, I don't even think Elnor should be dead, right? Because the Elnor from that timeline could have died, right? But the Elnor from our timeline should have still been there,
when he was right.
Yeah, no, but I mean, no, but that was the whole thing, is that they're like, oh, Q brought him back. I was like, no, he should have been there.
Oh, anyway. I see. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, he should have been there anyway.
Yeah.
And then the Q, searching for redemption after his life lost is sort of what they were hinting at. a couple of episodes, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? Like I could get into that. But then in this episode, it's much more like, Q saying like, I'm a god, I'm dying. You were always my favorite. Thanks for messing around with me. And I was like, okay, I mean, fine, but why are we here then? Why are we here? Is this you just wanted to do this one last time? And okay, but then that's not the same thing as looking for redemption, and it doesn't quite make sense because what you fixed was an alternate timeline, right? It's like again, it's yeah, the whole theme here is that they're setting up problems and then fixing them, and then my reaction as the audience is like, yeah, I have incredibly low involvement in this because I can see that you've set this problem up, so it's not really a problem, and I don't care that it's solved. And what you're saying here is like Picard went back in time, yeah, because you changed something, right? Picard had to clean up your mess. How is that Picard learning a lesson? How is that you learning a lesson? You created this issue that now we have solved. And so,
I mean, it was, I mean, Picard. This was about, Picard's inner journey. Although as I said, I think it could have been in earlier episodes delivered better. Yeah, but he had to deal with his ghosts, just like he said when he put the key back. So his future self finds that key and does everything the same.
Yeah.
To be where he is. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I found maybe we can sort of, unless there's more things you want to say about what you didn't like, I'm wondering whether we can use this to maybe transition, because I feel like so far all I've done is rag on this as well, right? The sung thing is ridiculous, and this is and all this, but and the Rios thing, and and all that, but the speech I liked, and I don't know whether this is because, but I relate to it myself in some respects, is the whole, bearing in mind Picard is a lot older character as well. He's found this out very late in his life here, but the fact that we do get, he says that Q is saying that humans hold on to things from the past and don't let them go, and all we've think about the future, but all we've really got is the moment, is the now. And it's about living your life in the now and being the best you can in the here and now, right? Which is something that I keep, I've spent my whole adult life fantasizing about a future that didn't really happen. And then dwelling on the things I should have done in the past. So I'm kind of relating, if you like, to I'm trying to be much more present, even with my opinions of Star Trek. But I think what it is, my frustration, if I had to sum this whole series up, because I really want to like this, and as I said, I enjoyed this episode to a point, but I think the whole thing with this season is I can kind of see what they were going for, but I don't think they were particularly successful in getting Picard through that journey. And the other characters, because it's not just, even though it's Star Trek Picard and he's the central, obviously everybody has been dealing with relationships and loss and love and what they want and regret and all of this, all of the characters, Raffi, Rios, all of them, right? But
Girardi,
I mean, the only one that didn't have any facets at all, or two, should I say, were Adam Sung, Brent Spiner, and by association, sadly, Curry Song, Issa Baronis. And it's not, again, I'm not blaming the actors for that. That's how thin they were written, unfortunately. And even though we had 10 episodes, nothing really developed for them at all. It was just, there was no subtlety to any of that. It was just in your face.
Yeah.
So I think they missed the mark. I think this show missed the mark in what it was trying to say, but I also appreciate what they were trying to say. If I'm making any sense at all, please, sorry, listeners.
Oh no,
in the comments, if you think I'm an idiot, I don't mind you putting that. It's because I'm not being very articulating what I'm trying to say. I'm not being very eloquent about it.
No, I think you're hitting the nail right on the head, right? Like
Right.
if the central theme is about, what did they say, right? Central themes are all humans are trapped in the past.
Yes.
Right. And we need to look up and look forward in everything, right? And that's how we're going to build better relationships. And that's how we're going to fix our problems individually and as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Very Star Trek message.
Massively Star Trek,
Massively Star Trek message. Very compelling in terms of storyline, right? I think there's a lot there that you can mine and talk about, and there's places to go there. But did they do it effectively? No. I mean, effectively enough that we can see what the messages were. But in terms of skill and artfulness, and just enjoyability as an art form, no, I think they came up a little short there. But that doesn't mean we can't, appreciate the themes.
Yeah, and then another thing that occurred to me when I was watching this is, as you know, I'm a massive fan of All Good Things, which was, the final episode of Next Generation. And when I think about it, even though we've gone on this long journey with Picard, who, by the way, isn't even biological human Picard, which, is a mess from last season. But, what we've gone on with this, when all is said and done, is no different to the journey that we went on with Picard in All Good Things, because in that, again, they had a future, a possible future, the past, i.e. the encounter at Farpoint, past stuff, and the present, and he was trying to sort of, and in that case, the stakes were high, because the stakes was the destruction of the universe or whatever it was, right? And he gets his crew together, he gets the people he cares about together, and he deals with everything from his assimilation to in that whole thing, right? And then at the end, he sits down to play the cards with the senior officers, with the kid.
Yeah.
His last line is, "I should have done this a long time ago." And when you think about it, that's essentially what he's telling Laris.
Yeah.
When he comes to see her, because obviously, I guess she's been a servant at Chateau Picard for some years, right? And I don't know. It just kind of it does the same thing without really. Okay, we've got a few Easter eggs that have ironed out some continuity holes in the wider Star Trek, although in some respects they've caused some as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going backwards and forwards here about my feelings on it, because I was moved at the end, and I was happy, although I was, for the first half of the episode, I was face palming every 5 minutes, particularly, I'm sorry, Brent Spiner, but particularly with that stuff, I was just like, this is awful. This is cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Villain overacting, just garbage, written really badly. And I didn't buy any of it. I was like, no.
Yeah. I think the only part of this episode that I really, really loved while watching it was when Wesley Crusher was on screen. And that's, that's just, I love seeing him again.
It wasn't well shot though. It was like shot in a park in LA,
Yeah.
It was kind of like,
Nothing was well shot
really?
here. Yeah.
There was nothing like they beat up at the end, right? When that scene finishes, but it might have been more interesting if they'd been somewhere to begin with. I don't know. Again, I'm being really nitpicky here, but
yeah. I totally agree. And
I know
did
they
have
to
the
film
thought.
this under restrictions. I get that. The whole industry is had to make massive changes. The way they do things. I get that. But,
the other thing is that like at the very end, when we get this sort of space pimple that threatens to destroy the quadrant, I was kind of like, oh, what might have helped with this entire series is if the space pimple we knew was going to destroy the quadrant for the entire season, right? And that was like looming over as a bigger thing, right? And then what I realized was that I had just rewritten All Good Things as a season. And I was like, oh, that's why they didn't do that. Because like there's only so many times you can redo All Good Things.
All Good Things did it perfectly in 90 minutes, whereas this has done it over the course of what?
10 hours.
8 hours, whatever the 10 episodes add up to, when you cut all of the recaps and shit out of it. But 8 hours, whatever. But 8 hours where some of it they trod water, others of bits they repeated the same thing that they'd done 2 episodes earlier. It felt like, actually, the more we talk about it, it felt, because we talked about how COVID gave them the opportunity to rewrite and restructure the series, but it actually felt, writing aside, the actual production here feels like a show that was under COVID restrictions, thinking about it, because they could have done way more interesting things with this.
They could have. They
could
have.
You know what? I'm a sucker. I mean, yesterday I said, sorry, listeners won't know what I'm talking about, but at the end of the Moon Knight podcast, which, as I said, please, or live video stream, please go and check that out. But basically I said, what a wonderful time we live in the fact that we've got Marvel shows and movies, we've got Star Wars shows, we've got Star Trek shows. Okay, we can't see all of them at the moment, but that's a whole nother moan of mine. But we've got all these things, and I am excited about all of that. I'm excited for season 3 of this, despite how lackluster this season has been. And I say this, and that's not to mention all the other good things. Like, there's, at the moment, just to name a couple, we've got Better Call Saul, we've got Ozark. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff out there at the moment. But I'm excited about more Star Trek. But was this the best? No, it could have been better, I think.
Could have been better. Okay.
Have we missed anything? I'm just making sure, because obviously this is sort of our recap of not just episode 10, but of the season. We've spoken for as many hours probably as the season has gone on. Once you add all of these up. But I mean, I don't know. I feel, I understand, as somebody that kind of understands filmmaking and only wishes he was lucky enough to be involved in something like Star Trek. But, I understand it's difficult. There's a lot of moving parts. Making drama is not easy. It's not easy. There's a lot to it. But this really, really felt sloppy along the way, and we were disappointed with the season. One thing I will say, and this is a positive, if you like, I said, damn it, they got me at the end. They got me. as a season finale, I was more satisfied by this one than I was season 1, despite its problems. I mean, this has got huge problems, but despite that, I was actually, I think, more entertained by this
Yeah,
than I was the season
I think
1
that's totally
finale.
fair.
I was like,
I'd agree.
apart from the Picard data scene at the end, which we said was lovely in season 1, but the rest of that finale episode was
Was
very
garbage.
lackluster.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say, like, yeah, is that season 1 finale, like, we got that great Picard data scene, and then they immediately undercut it by bringing back Picard as a synthetic, right? And so in this one, at least they didn't immediately shove their feet in their mouth, right, one scene to the next.
Yeah, they just kept changing feet.
They just kept changing. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, this begs the question then, Pete. If you haven't got anything more that you want to add to that, this season we have done a rank pin rating. For those of you that can't see this on the screen, going all the way from an ensign junior grade right the way up to the full captain. Going to ask you 2 things, Pete, I think, for this one, and I'm putting you on the spot. But first of all, as we've done every time, where do you rate this episode? So episode 10, Farewell. And secondly, how would you rate the season as a whole by giving it a rank? So yeah, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, interesting. I mean, we started the season giving high marks, and we have ended, and as we've gone down, it has gone down, some ups, some downs, but on a downward trend. And I think that I want to give this episode a lieutenant junior grade, which is a little bit of a step up from the last couple of episodes, because I think they did do some things successfully here. And then I'd like to be more interesting than this, but I am going to give the entire season a lieutenant junior grade. There was some good stuff in here, but not enough to make this, I think, a rewatchable and enjoyable Star Trek experience. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, I mean, the lowest score I have given on the episode has been an ensign. I think I gave the last one a lieutenant junior grade because I said it
I
was
think so too. Yeah.
slightly better. I'm going to be just because of how I felt emotionally in this. I'm going to give this one actually a rank of lieutenant commander, which is probably more than it deserves. But it's because for all of its flaws, and we've hopped on for over an hour about what the flaws are. I've made it very clear what I think the flaws of this were. But despite that, on an emotional level at the end, it got me. I think playing Jerry Goldsmith's music from Star Trek First Contact, which was another Easter egg, I guess, kind of helped sway that emotion as well. But I'm going to give it a lieutenant commander. So I'm going to be quite
That's the
generous.
episode.
But
yeah.
the season on the whole, I am just going to give a lieutenant. I don't know whether that actually works out. If you looked at all my ranking, whether that does work out as a proper average. But the reason I'm saying the lieutenant is that is just below the halfway. and this is what I feel. I don't think it was awful. It was entertaining. Bits of it were very Star Trek. But it really didn't hit the mark. And even though I said that the first episode of this season was a captain, it went drastically downhill. And I do think it's below par still. So I'm going to give the whole season just 2 pips as a lieutenant.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So I'm not, and the other thing is I'm not sure what's next. Well, I do know what's next for us, but in terms of Star Trek, for me here in the UK, I've got 6 weeks I believe, until
Yeah.
I can start seeing any new Star Trek. So that means Discovery season 4, which has been and done over there. And I think by the time we get Strange New Worlds, that'll probably have been and gone as well. You know, that first season will have been done. And certainly by the time I play catch up, it's going to be nearly impossible, but I'm going to try
And Prodigy.
to avoid. Oh, yes. But I am going to try and avoid spoilers if I can. My YouTube feed, because it knows the things I'm interested in, gives me loads of this kind of content. So it's going to be tough. I'm not going to take to the high seas because I'd be a hypocrite if I did that, and it wouldn't be good for this channel, I feel, if we did that.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to you, Pete, but at the same time, my question to any audience we might have out there, and I don't even know if we've got one because we've had no feedback this season whatsoever. But my question is, do we want to do a Strange New World sort of one episode covering the whole thing in 2 months' time when I've played catch up, you know, in July or whatever it's going to be by then? And the same for Discovery season 4. As I said, I'm asking you that question. You don't have to give me an answer now, Pete. You can think about it. But also, listeners out there or watchers, please put in the comments below or contact us. We'll give you contact details in a moment. But yeah, I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, I think that we we should see if Strange New Worlds is a season like Picard season 2. I'd rather not do an episode by episode recap, right?
Well, yeah, and the problem is by the time I've seen it, for any of, if we've got any viewers or listeners in North America, for example, it's going to be kind of pointless because you'd have already had them all. You know, there are 4 lights, which is our speculation and theories and stuff, won't mean a thing because even if I'm doing them, you know, essentially they've been, you would know they've been done, so that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I just think that we'd be treading probably more ground than people have patience for. I'm thinking we could maybe do a longer, if I say longer, we've gone feature length with this one, but a longer episode, you know, like an hour and a half to 2 hour episode on the whole season of each once I've seen them all, which I don't know whether Paramount Plus are going to have them all there for me to binge in one go, or whether they're going to be drip fed weekly. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know what it's going to cost. I don't know how it's going to work. Paramount, if you're out there listening, you should be sending me a screener for review purposes because you were promoting your show here, guys. But I've got really high hopes for Strange New Worlds. I've got a feeling that it's going to be the show that everybody wants. Really have got good feelings about it. The little I have seen, I'm really happy with, and the stuff I already know, i.e. Anson Mount from those, you know, the seasons or 2 seasons of Discovery. The season of Discovery. My bad, but yeah, you know, I'm sold. So yeah, enough said. But we've got Star Wars and no doubt more Marvel content, which I'm sure we'll cover on this channel. Not quite sure who's going to be covering it, but yeah. But on that note, why don't we open a channel?
Okay, so if you are watching this, then you know about the Home Media Minefield YouTube channel. As Keith mentioned earlier, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notifications. If you are listening as a podcast, you know you can find us wherever all good podcasting apps are found. Please also look for the Let's See What's Out There podcast on social media at LSWOTcast on all good social medias. Also, you can send us an email directly, lswotcast@gmail.com. I am Pete Mealy. You can find me on Twitter at Too Many E's. Keith, where can people find more of you and your work?
Yeah, I mean, reiterating, please do give us a like, review, anything like that, if you can, or helps. As for my other work, the channel British Isles, which is EYLES on YouTube, that has the Urban Chiller Tales. I can't even pronounce my own films, but yeah, we've got an anthology of films on there. So that's where the creative work goes. Just some things that have been recent or coming soon. For more Star Trek content, I actually do cover some of the Blu-ray editions of the Star Trek films on this channel. There is a playlist. I will put a link to that at the end of this episode, but please go and check that out if Star Trek on physical media is something that's of interest to you, and if there's any more that you want me to review or add to that, then please do put that down in the comments. And also, if you are catching this in time, we've got a live stream coming up next Friday, a week today, which will be Friday the 13th. So yeah, we're really creative here. You guessed it. We're going to be doing a live stream on the Friday the 13th franchise. And I'm going to be joined by regulars on this show, Josh from Movie Timelines and Al from Turtle Canyon Media to discuss Friday the 13th. We've previously discussed Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the Scream franchises. So this kind of ties into that. So yes, please check that out. Well, Pete, we've made it. We got through a week, 10 weeks of Star Trek with mixed emotions.
We made it through. That's all that matters.
And we will do more. So that just leaves me to say thank you, Pete, for the last 10 weeks doing this.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Keith. And thank you to anyone who's still watching or listening to this. We really do appreciate it. And we will catch you next time on
Let's See What's Out There.
That said, see you next week, but you get the deal, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Bye. Make it so.